right? And you said that
Oh, she's here.
totally eloquently. Hi, Milena.
Hi, Melina. Sorry you can't see me. My internet sucks. I'm sorry.
We can't hear you. Oh no.
Gabriella, what the heck? Can you hear me?
I can
I
hear
can
you
hear
now.
you.
Okay, hold on. But okay, yes. Am I there?
You're there.
Yay, technology.
Right?
Right?
Gabby is in are you in she's in Mexico City
I'm in
currently,
Mexico
and
City.
so her internet is not as
Oh,
great right
I,
now.
I'm not in my usual booth. I'm actually in my in-laws' closet. So yeah.
perfect.
We were just touching on some like hot button topics about how like getting unshortlisted. We touched on I don't know if you've ever been shortlisted and unshortlisted. That happens on one of the
Yes.
platforms. Yeah, that's so fun. And then we were just talking about how not allowing yourself to get so tripped up in the details that like stops you from auditioning at all, regardless of like what's going on. So yeah, I don't know. Okay. We all have
Is
chaos.
there, wait, is there a platform that tells you when you're shortlisted and then not?
Yes, on Voices.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're on
Voices one, two,
Voices.
three.
Oh, I don't do voices. I do voice 1, 2, 3 though. Hold on, I'm getting comfy.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah.
So,
Oh
okay.
goodness. Yeah, I audition, send it off, and then I'm like, peace out. Like I don't think about it. I don't. So if I ever get someone to like a direct client or someone who responds and they're like, hey, just so you know, you did a really great job. We went another way, and I'm like, wow, thank you for this. Because I've just learned over all the years to just send it and forget it.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's a really good
yeah.
point. Yeah, like it's almost nice to have those stats set up for you, but at the same time, like you said, it's like a little bit of a disservice. So, okay, so I have to share with everybody because I told Gabby when you and I met on social media, I think you responded to like a social media thread that we were connected to, like a mutual friend. And I was like, hey, wait, you're in Florida. And you're like, yeah, you're in Florida. And so we connected, and it was like right in your beginning where you were like, I'm pushing out of my comfort zone. I'm networking. I'm doing more stuff on social media, and we followed each other and connected via email. And this is the funniest story, Gabby. So I'm going to share it right now. So I went
Okay.
to voiceover
but then but
Atlanta.
then but then I continued to not do anything else on social media.
No, you are. Stop it. So fast forward. It's been months, and we're both following each other, keeping in touch. We're obviously Floridians, and we're both in voiceover. And voiceover Atlanta happens 2023, and I ripped the band-aid off and did it real quick. I didn't really tell too many people other than like my accountability group. Didn't even put
Mhm.
it on social media. And I'm sitting at the bar. It's like the first day. I'm like, oh my God, this is all fucking a lot. And I'm like, I just need to eat food. Like I hadn't eaten all day. I hadn't even had like a good enough amount of coffee. And then all of a sudden I hear this, oh my God, Jocelyn. And she running like from across the room. And I was like, who the what the hell is happening? And it was like, here's Melina. And you just have this like dynamic, just positive energy that just radiates from you on screen,
Oh,
through social media, and in person. And it's like
That's
real
amazing.
and authentic. So
oh.
how did you know it was me? Was it the hair?
I mean, it's totally hair. No, I mean, I knew what you looked like through social media. And did we not? I feel like we communicated somewhere and we were like, are you going to be in Atlanta? And
Did
I
we?
knew you were going. I thought so.
Maybe we did. I don't know. It was such a whirlwind that like I kind of went into this like weird self-preservation mode because there's a lot of people.
No, I think it did because were you part of the Central Florida VO hub at that point? Because
No,
I
I
feel like
hadn't.
no, not yet. Okay.
No, not yet. I
I
don't think
don't
so.
know why, but I feel like I knew you were going.
Oh, interesting.
Because somebody asked or something, or maybe not. Maybe I just saw you and I was just like, "Hey, girl."
Which I love. I absolutely love. And I was surprised and happy to see you. But so I'm happy that you're here. Gabby is also a bilingual voice
Yeah,
actor and on
I
camera.
figured. I figured looking at your name, Gabriela Borja.
Thank
If
you.
you need me to do your slates for you, I got you.
Yeah, that sounded perfect, actually. Thank you.
I was like, they're probably gonna speak Spanish and I'm gonna be totally left out, but that's okay. That's
We
fine.
won't do that. We won't do that.
No, no.
No, that's okay. So tell us how, like, you started off in on camera though, and not in voiceover, which I did not know, and I didn't even realize that you were on camera. It makes sense because you're beautiful and you're
She's
also,
drop dead
Oh,
gorgeous. For anyone who's not looking at her video, drop
yeah.
dead gorgeous.
I know she gets so embarrassed. It was fun.
um, back to what you were saying. Yeah, so I did start on camera. I come from a kind of a funny dynamic family. My mom was a clown since I was 6 years old. She's done kids' birthday parties. So
Wow.
my mom has been performing. I've watched her perform my whole life. And I would occasionally, she would need somebody to dress up as Pocahontas or in the costume for like Minnie Mouse or Barney. So like, no wonder I'm bonkers because this is what I grew up doing.
That's
I was
amazing.
I was homeschooled during elementary school for a couple of years. And one of those years, my mom worked at Discovery Zone, which was like, oh,
Yeah.
back in the day for those people
Yeah.
born in the 80s, like me, everyone in their 40s or turning 40. Hey, um, there was this place called Discovery Zone, which was like old school Chuck E. Cheese kind of. And my mom managed it. So I was like homeschooled there and then played games and was like
Wow.
characters all day. So no wonder I'm a nut job. But when I turned 17 and I was in college, I was like, I want to model. I'm 5'4", but I'm going to do it. So I took headshots and got zero modeling jobs, obviously. And I started doing commercials kind of here and there while I was in school. And here in Florida, I did a couple of things. And then when I moved, I lived in Indianapolis for 10 years from 2000, I can't say 20, 2000, the end of 2007 through 2018. I lived in Indianapolis, got an agent there, and I actually started on camera. So I would do commercials here and there, ethnically ambiguous. And then I got a job. Someone approached me to do, I would like interview DJs for this company, for this DJ company. So I got all the big DJs that came to town. I was interviewing them. And then someone approached me and said, hey, Telemundo is coming to Indianapolis. Univision
Wow.
used to be here, but they're gone. And they're looking for an on-camera Spanish speaking host. Would you be interested? And I was like, heck yeah. I mean, Spanish I learned before English, but then you go to school, you grow up your whole
Yeah.
life speaking English. So English is my primary language.
Right.
I speak Spanish conversationally, but so yeah, I accepted the position. I was essentially their entertainment TV host.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
I started in TV and I was doing commercials through my agent part-time. And I remember my very first VO job, I did a commercial for Safe Auto on camera in Spanish. And they needed a pickup for the radio. I did the TV spot and they were going to do radio. So they called me and said, hey, we need you to go into a studio and record for the radio spot. And I was like, what is this? And they were like, it's the voiceover. And at this time, it's like 2009, maybe 2008. And I don't know what voiceover is at all. I go and I do it. And then I start getting residual checks and I'm like, what is this? What
Pretty cool.
happened?
That's awesome.
Like, right?
Yeah.
So I continued on with Telemundo, started doing that, was acting and doing like short films and indie films here and there. And I met a friend in Chicago he still is a engineer for a very big audio studio in Chicago. I'm not going to name them because I don't know if he wants to be name dropped, but
Right. Yeah.
met a friend there. And for years, I begged him. He would bring me in while other voice actors were doing like commercials for like Red Lobster and Nissan and like these big, and he's like, she makes 6 figures. And I'm like, can you help me? And he's like, nah, no, I don't really do that. I don't really help people. And I was like, please. And after 2 years, I was like, come on, if you just give me a chance, help me do a demo, give me a chance. And he was like, all right, fine, come in. I'm going to give you some scripts. We'll record them. I'm not going to guarantee anything. I was like, okay. So we recorded my first demo in 2010.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I
Spanish
was
and
just
English?
so excited. Spanish and English.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
I listen back to it now and I sound like such a little girl. My voice like sounds so young. I'm like Neutrogena and I don't even know what it was. Yeah, so I did that demo and now it's so interesting, right? Hindsight, I knew nothing about voiceover.
Right.
It wasn't as connected back then, or at least I didn't have the knowledge that it was connected back then. Back then was you were going to auditions in studio, recording in studio, home studios were unheard of.
Wow. Yeah.
And I didn't know there was a VO community. I didn't know coaching, like what? I didn't know I was supposed to get coaching. I didn't know any of that stuff.
Right.
So I always say when I've talked to people, I'm like, I am the example of what, like, I did everything ass backwards. I like did it all wrong and somehow ended up successful. But it was a very long road and I don't recommend what I did. My
That's funny.
my first job was for a communications company that went bankrupt a year later.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I did their IVR. It was like a $200 job. And I was like, thank you for calling whatever communications. For English, press 1. Para español, oprime el número 2. And I'd go through, all the prompts. And yeah, they went bankrupt. And I'm hoping it's not because of my IVR, but
I doubt it.
No,
I doubt it.
but yeah, so that's how that was in like 2011, I think, or 2012. I was just looking through my emails to see like what year I got my first job. And around that time, I was like, well, I need a real job. I don't know what to do with my life.
Yeah.
I've been one of those people coming from parents, and my dad was a doctor, an acupuncture, he was a GP, and then he went into acupuncturist. My mom was a clown and worked all these different things. So I was raised in this entrepreneurial, my parents are first generation here. They came over from Colombia. So I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs of like, try it out.
Yeah.
So I did everything. I sold cell phones for Verizon. I did computer animated design for a minute for some company.
Oh, wow.
I was a personal banker for a little while, but like I was 25 years old and was like, what am I doing with my life? I don't know. So I did some career testing and I was like, I need a real job because acting and voiceover isn't a real job. So I'm going to become a nurse. So I went to nursing school.
Wow.
And yeah, I did voiceover part-time, on camera part-time, but my main focus was nursing school for a few years. I graduated in 2013, and started working, was in the emergency department, just living the crazy nurse life.
Yeah.
Had a kid, did that, did that whole thing.
That's a whole thing
That was a
in
lot.
itself. Yeah,
That's
that's
a
a lot. It's still a lot, like now to this
it's a
day.
I feel like it's more now than it was then. I'm like,
Yeah.
they like smell and talk
Yeah.
back. They're really loud.
Wait till you have an 18-year-old. I have an 18-year-old almost. Like, wait to that. Like, they're like, he's a grown ass man, like a grown ass man.
Mine's 8. I can still like tell him, I am your mother and I will kill you, but I won't. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I honestly, for me, voiceover, I never jumped all the way in. It was always something that was kind of there. In 2017, I remember I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I talked to my engineer friend again, the one who did my demo. I was like, I want to do this. What do I do? And he's like, all right, let's set up your home studio. My very first mic, no coaching, no knowledge, no website, nothing. I went and bought a TLM 103, obviously, because that's what you do. You buy like $1,000 microphone. I went and bought, and I down in my basement closet, I set up a little home studio, and I got a job. So in August, I built a studio in my house. And in my garage, which in hindsight, garage, Florida, I'm like dying during sessions, but I built it and I was like, okay, now what? I'm on voice 123. I have this old demo.
Right.
And thankfully, because you can hear my English is like Gen Am as it can be.
Yeah.
Y entonces, y mi español es un español neutral, que no sabes de dónde soy. You don't know if I'm from Colombia or, you just can't really tell where I'm from. I got some work and I was like, oh shit, this might work. Like what,
Yeah.
So I my first year, I think I did like 30,000 on voice 123 by myself. And during that first year was when I was like, I think I probably need some coaching. Like,
yeah,
I should find a coach. I probably need some new demos. And that's when I really started going on like Facebook and started realizing like, oh, there's like a whole community out there of people who do what I do. Like, what? So I got a coach, started to join Facebook groups, listen to podcasts, and started realizing like, oh shit, what am I do? Like, I'm doing it all wrong. I
No.
need more coach. I need to understand the industry more.
Yeah.
I need more coaching. I have been very, very fortunate because of being bilingual. Somebody please tell my kids this who don't want to learn Spanish, little shits. Um, the fact that I am bilingual, I attribute that to my success. 90% of my success is because I'm bilingual. Yes, I will own the fact that like there is some talent and I work very hard at what I do.
Yeah.
But I have many, many English speaking Gen M voiceover friends who blow me away that I'm like, if I was against you, I don't know. So it's, I'm very grateful for my other language. But after that, that year, I told you I did like 30K that first year.
Which is pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't typically like to talk about money, but for me, the reason I talk about it is because I always want to hit so hard on how important it is to have coaching, good demos, a community and resources around you, and knowledge. All of those things and that experience. Without that, there is no success. You can't just fall into this and think, I mean, look at me. It took me years and years and years. Granted, I was only working part-time, but I just think to myself, man, if I would have just done this 5 years prior, where would I be now? You know what I mean? I don't live my life with regret, but the only reason I mention dollars is because I hear so many people coming into it now and people ask me advice for VO. And I'm like, don't do what I did. Coaching, experience, knowledge, practice, workouts, work on your craft, get good demos before you go to an agent.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yes.
Before you do all those things. So at the end of 2020 and 2021, in December of 2021, I had a wonderful VO friend, Gina Scarpa. I will call her out because I just love her.
I know her.
She was one of my first coaches, my character coach. She was like, you should go to this Actors Connection thing. They do this like manager night or agent night, and you can get in front of real agents.
What?
Instead of just sending them emails, they can hear you. And I was like,
wow.
oh shoot, okay. So I went to this commercial read. I think you pay like $100, and it was Atlas, Stewart, and CESD New York. Stewart, New York, CESD New York, and Atlas.
Big time. Yeah.
I was like,
big eyes.
Me, 0 agents. I had my on-camera agent in Indiana, but they didn't do voiceover yet. So I was like, I had this idea. I'm like, shoot, I can read one commercial script. All right, I'm going to write a commercial script where I speak Spanish in the script. So they know that I speak Spanish, because they won't let me do both. Because I had done a Clubhouse. I'd sat in on a Clubhouse with Mark Gus of ACM a couple months prior, and everyone else was reading. I didn't have an opportunity to read, but I heard another bilingual voice actress read in Spanish, and he was so blown away with her. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I would have had the opportunity to read in Spanish, that could be me. I need to like get my shit together. So this time I was like, I'm ready. I'm prepared. So I wrote a script, a Babbel script, wrote it on my own, listened to one of their commercials, a couple of them, and kind of wrote my own thing with Spanish. And I went in and I read it and met with them. I had 5 minutes. I read my script and they were like, do you have any questions for me? And I was like, do you want to sign me? Like, when can we talk? And are you signing new talent? And Atlas was a no right away, because it's December. They were like, we don't talk to anyone in December. We'll talk to you at the beginning of the year. And I was fortunate enough, Stewart and CESD, the reps from both of those agencies were like, we would love to talk to you. Can we talk this week?
Wow.
And by the end of the next week, I had my first national agent. CESD New York was the first agency I went to. Stewart's wonderful. I'm with Stewart in Chicago. They were wonderful as well. It was a really hard decision for me to make, but that's when it all kind of like, it all kind of took off. Yeah. Having access to those opportunities. Billy and Anita at CESD are like family to me. They just believed in me from day one. They were so excited to have me on board. And that's awesome. That's where it all changed.
That is amazing.
Yeah, go ahead, Gabby. I know you have a couple questions.
I do. So I just got well, okay. So I got I want to say shortlisted. I'll just say shortlisted. Shortlisted for a commercial. No,
Okay.
not a commercial. I'm sorry. For a project. A bilingual project. But I just wanted to ask, because this happened to me. They needed me to send them another sample of me reading a line from this project where I have more of an accent. So how do you deal with those projects? How do you add an accent? I don't know. I guess I didn't sound Hispanic enough for them, is where I want to go with
Yeah,
this.
just
So
blurt it out, Gabby. Blurt it out,
Girl,
girl.
I feel you. I
how do
feel
you
you,
deal with
mamita.
this?
Yeah,
You
so
sounded too white, apparently.
I am very honest with my agents when they ask me to do this, because I get asked all the time. And I tell them when I interview with them,
Yeah.
every agent I've ever interviewed with, I'm like, listen, because they all ask me the same thing. Can you do English with a Spanish accent or a
Yeah.
Hispanic accent or a Latina accent, however you want to say it? And I tell them, I'm like, I'm going to be real honest with you. This is my voice. This is where I live. But I can add like a little bit, like if you want me to like my L's, if you want me to like, there's just like a little bit of accent, I can kind of put it on there. But
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, it's not very authentic. And I'm
Yeah.
honest with them. And they're
Okay.
like, I appreciate your honesty. Anytime they send me an audition, I'm like, I will do one without the accent, a little bit of accent, and I'll try to put a heavy accent on it. But I always preface it. I'm like, please let them know that this is not my strong suit, but I'm going to do it. And it's weird. I've booked like 5, 6 jobs with this little accent.
Yeah.
but I'm always honest with them because I don't want to say no to an opportunity, but
Mhm.
I also want to be transparent, right? I don't want to be like, yeah, for sure, I can do it, and then make them look dumb or make myself look in not that I'm operating without integrity. I
Right.
like
Right.
to be
Right.
incredibly honest about everything that I do. So I just tell them straight up, like, listen, this is my voice. I can, try to like put a little bit, but I don't, that's just not my thing. I don't
Yeah.
speak with an
Yeah.
accent. And I try to do that because I also don't ever want it to sound like I'm making fun of my
Right.
heritage,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Makes sense.
and there's enough work for all of us out there. I want to leave opportunities for my other Latina and Hispanic
Yeah.
sisters out there that are trying to do this, that can do it better than I can. Like I'm
Right.
strong
Right.
at some things, but there are some things that I'm not great at. Why not let one of my other girls, like my other VO fam,
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
there do it better. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I approach it. I'm just
Okay.
honest. I'm like, listen, it ain't my thing, but you want me to try? I got you. Like I'll do
Yeah.
it. But I want you to understand that what you're sending in is not somebody who like was born in Colombia, had an accent. I was born here.
Yeah.
So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, it is what it is.
Do you get it on
Okay.
the flip side though, with when you're speaking Spanish? Do they, do you not have enough like accent when it comes to yeah.
Yeah, so I work with a Spanish coach. I work
Okay.
with somebody on my pronunciation because I've started booking more and more Spanish work. And then now that I'm with agents in LA, Chicago, New York, I get a lot more SAG work. I get a lot of stuff. So the competition is obviously higher. So I
Mhm.
have to step up my game. And I fully recognize that my Spanish, there are many words and many ways that I say things that you can just tell. If you're a native speaker and you have that ear, you can tell that I was born here.
Yeah.
However, there are many clients who like that sound. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. I work with my coach and she's like, we want to make sure you sound really native and really authentic for some of your auditions. But there's also this other subset where they're like kind of okay, like especially East Coast kind of Spanish stuff.
Mhm.
Because we've got a lot of like Colombia, Puerto Rico, Dominicans, like we've got that whole thing from New York all the way down to Florida. So there are some clients who they're okay with you sounding like you're American, but you speak Spanish. So there's a little bit of both, but I do train weekly with a coach every Thursday, and we work
Wow.
on things like in English, I speak with my mouth pretty closed
Yeah.
and I speak with the sound in the back of my throat. But when I'm flipping back and forth from English to Spanish, I have to really stretch open my mouth because when I'm speaking in Spanish, the tongue is to the front.
Yeah.
I have to work on like putting my tongue to the front of my mouth, enunciating things bigger. And I have to get used to that. And those are things that I didn't know how to do. So she works with me on a lot of that stuff. And that's been really my big goal for this year, is to really try to perfect my Spanish so that I can, because for example, I booked my very first national campaign for Total by Verizon a year ago, the
Nice.
That's so
English
cool.
voice.
Very
Yeah.
My agent, thank you. It was really cool. And it's been really cool to see, like, be traveling in California and Oregon and different places and see my commercial. I'm like,
Yeah.
That's the best
but
feeling.
my agent was like, you're a shoo-in. They want somebody for the Spanish. So we're going to send you the script and you're going to get the Spanish too. And I didn't book the Spanish.
Oh,
A
interesting.
wonderful voice actress, my friend and hermana, my Colombian sister, Diane Holgan, she booked it.
Okay.
And she's the Spanish voice, and her Spanish is much better than mine. I believe
Right.
she was born in Colombia.
Okay.
Her Spanish is better than mine. So she got it over me. And that for me was a really big lesson. I could have taken it as like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But I didn't. I owned it. I was like, I gotta work on this Spanish. So
Right.
So yeah, so I work with a coach. I have like the most long-winded answers. Sorry.
No, I love it.
No, it's
No.
amazing. Yeah, no, we love those answers because
Yes,
they're so informative, and we need that.
definitely.
So I've had the opposite experience where, so I've been living in Mexico for the past, I want to say 11 years now. So I've
Oh wow.
naturally perfected my Spanish. But now I just got someone from a production company saying like, I want to send you this, but I really need someone who sounds like they're they're American, but they speak Spanish, and your Spanish just sounds like way too native for this. So I can't send it
What?
to you. And I'm like,
Oh
oh,
my
okay.
Because
God.
Mexico City Spanish is beautiful.
Thank you.
It is
So is
beautiful in my
Colombian.
opinion. In my opinion, it's beautiful. It's the true neutral Spanish is from Mexico City. I love watching on Netflix. There's some shows on Netflix that are like telenovelas, but they are subtitled. Casa
Yeah.
de las Flores is like one of my favorites, and
Yeah.
it's filmed in Mexico City. It's all like Mexican actors, and I just love the way they speak. I'm like, I just watch them, like, it's so pretty.
There's so many different dialects too.
Yeah, and my family is from in Colombia. The Colombian that everybody thinks is like so perfect is usually the Paisa Colombian or de Bogota. My family's from Cartagena, so we're on the Caribbean. So our
Yeah.
Spanish is like a little more dirty. It's a little more slangy. It's not quite like Caribbean, like Dominican, Puerto Rican, but it is less proper,
Yeah.
I would
I think
say,
Colombian
than
Spanish
the
is
typical Colombian
beautiful.
Spanish. Yeah, I think so too. I love it, but I always have to like remind people too. I'm like, my family's from the coast, so we're a little sloppier than like the typical Spanish. But yeah, I'm learning. My coach is actually from Argentina, and her Spanish is so
Oh, wow.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So she works with me on a lot of my pronunciation, and I'm really trying to clean it up so that I can be more competitive, because that's,
Yeah.
it's just a necessity.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. I have to know, like, in one of our group, and I'm gonna kind of switch. I'm gonna pivot here for a second.
Let's pivot.
Yeah, let's pivot, because like you're a mom, you're solo, right? You're solo. You are working VO,
Solo.
you're not doing any more on camera stuff, or you are a little bit, but you're a little
A
bit,
little
like,
bit.
okay. And then but you have two kids at home. So like for all of us, like being moms and being an entrepreneur and like,
Mm.
raising kids. I mean, raising kids, we already touched on that, is hard. Whether,
Yeah.
I call it solo parenting for me because my husband works all the time. So it's like it's me and the kids, and when he's around, sometimes it makes it harder because it's like, I mean,
You have your routine.
you have your routine, but like it's hard to balance all of it. So how do you balance it? How do you balance what you got going on? Because you've got a lot going on.
Girl, this last year has been a challenging year. Those who know me or who follow me on social media have probably noticed there was a massive change. I was separated last year and divorced a year ago. So I went from two parents in a house to just me. Now, granted, it's a week on, a week off. So I'm not like just by myself 24/7 with my kids.
Yeah.
It's definitely very challenging.
Yeah.
there are a lot of things that I wish I could do with my kids now that I can't. They're in aftercare because I've got to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going crazy most of the time.
Me too.
But honestly, like for me, what keeps me sane is I've found that there's always time in the day for the things that you prioritize and the things that are important to you. And there are some days when I just haven't felt like doing anything and I've just like laid around. I've done my auditions and done the bare minimum of what I had to do and then laid around. And later I was like, well, I didn't have time to do that. And I'm like, wait, I had time to do it. I just didn't prioritize it.
Right.
And what I found for me personally is like, as long as my mental health is good, I can handle anything that is thrown at me. And I found that like for me personally, sleep 7 to 8 hours a night is absolutely a non-negotiable. I have to sleep 7 to 8 hours a night. I have to plan my whole life around it no matter what. And that includes like getting my kids ready for bed early, laying with them and making sure. And if they're still awake, I'm like, listen, you want to sleep 4 hours and go to school tomorrow and be miserable? Fine. I'm going to sleep. My kids are big enough that I can choose.
Yeah, they'll be okay.
I don't recommend that for like little kids, but my kids are big enough that I can do that and they understand. Going to the gym, working out. If you are ever on a Zoom with me, I'm literally always the fact that I like put on mascara and I put on earrings. I put on earrings for you guys. I'm normally like, my hair is normally like, I'm in a hat. I'm like sweating every time I'm on a Zoom. Going to the gym, meditation, like those three things for me, as long as I make time, I get up early enough and I do those things, I can go into my day and I can manage anything. I wish my answer for you was I'm in Mark Scott's mastermind accountability group.
Oh, really?
I wish my answer for you, oh yeah, that's another thing I added on my plate. I wish I could say to you, like, I block out my time and I have a very strict calendar. I am so loosey goosey. Like I went from being a nurse. I went from being a nurse, and granted, in the ER, like there is no schedule, right? You attend to like what needs priority. You're dying, you get my attention. It's just you kind of have to go with the flow. Me coming into this, like I was never like a corporate America type person, like business had a calendar, like that's never been my life. So I'm a true like creative, like flow brain. Like, what am I feeling right now? Do I want to do these auditions? No, I'm gonna like send this email. So I'm real loosey goosey with my schedule. So I would love to say that I balance it all by like really focusing on time blocking out everything. I don't. I have a dry erase board next to my thing that tells me my goals for the month. And usually it's like posting 3 times a week on social media, which doesn't always happen. I hate, fun fact about me, hate social media.
Yeah.
Oh, me too.
Do not like it.
Me too.
It is a struggle for me I just don't like talking about myself.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to do anything with myself. So if you ever see my posts, I'm like, no makeup, straight out. When I do post, it's usually because I'm on that gym high. I come home from the gym and I'm like, I have an idea. I'm going to post this. And I look like a hot mess.
No, you're glowing. You're fine. You're glowing.
Right.
Yeah, you look like a hot mess, but in a different term, like a hot mess, I guess.
It's a hot mess.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have a dry erase board that says like my monthly goals, what I want to accomplish this month, and like what that means, like broken down. I want to read a chapter of a book every single day. I need to envision my goal. Did I envision my goal today? Did I sit in meditation and think about, and really envision what I want? One of my goals on my vision board for this year, things like envisioning the things that I want to do and giving myself non-negotiables for the day. But also I've learned I used to like this hustle culture thing is not for me. That's not the life that I want. And when I hustle, I find that like, yeah, I get things done. But when I take the time to breathe on a day when I'm like, man, I need rest today for my mental health, for my body, whether it's like, I'm just going to start working 2 hours later because I'm going to go on a walk and I'm going to read a book and I'm just going to like, when I do that, I approach my auditions differently. You can hear it in my voice. You can hear it in my performance. And somehow I end up the same, if not booking more, when I take more time to
Wow.
really take care of me. I'm a better
Yeah.
mom. I'm a
Yeah.
better friend. I'm a better co-parent. It
Yeah.
just all kind of falls into place when I
Mhm.
really just remember that the universe, source, God, whatever you want to call it, always has my best interest in mind. And as long as I am taking steps forward, you can't just like lay on the couch every day, right?
Right.
As long as I'm
Yeah.
I'm taking steps forward and really listening to my intuition, I really do find that success just flows to me and
That's
it
Mhm.
good.
and it just works.
That's pretty
Yeah.
awesome. There's
Yeah.
been plenty of days where it's like, no, I got to get in the booth. And you can tell if you're just like powering through auditions, they could
Mhm.
probably hear it in your voice. Or if you're stressed out about something that was going on in your life and you walk in the booth, you can hear it in your voice. Yeah. Okay, so before we go, because I know we start a little bit late, but I have to hear the leaf blower story. Please tell me, because Gabby, she brought it up at we have a Central Florida hub. It's a accountability group, but it's so much more, and you guys have really done a great
Yeah,
job. And you want to tell us a little bit about that, and then you have to she mentioned the leaf
the
blower
story.
story, and we're like, you're not gonna tell us? And she's like, that's for another time.
Yeah, so Central Florida VO Hub, I went to SOVAS, that's voiceover, last year. It was my first conference. I went and met Tim Friedlander, who he and I followed each other online. He is the president of NAVA, the National Association of Voice Actors. Him and Karen Gilfrey are just like amazing, just like two gems of like angels of people in the voiceover world. And I was talking to him and I was like, man, I've always had this feeling inside me where I just like I feel like I'm meant to do more and I want to like give to my community, but I don't know how. But also I'm like really lonely. I went from working at the hospital and constantly being around people to now working at home to now being divorced. My house is just me and I'm in my booth all day.
Yeah.
I moved to Orlando. I
Yeah.
didn't know anybody here because I've only been here for 3 years. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, just like start a group. And I was like, oh,
Sure. No problem.
oh. He's like, just start a group. You can just start it. Just do it. And I was like, oh, okay. I was
Yeah.
like, well, how should I do it? What do I need to do? He's like, you just start it. And then you just start doing things. And I was like, oh, okay. So I left and I needed something that I can put my heart and my mind into. So I wanted people here that I could meet up with for like happy hour to grab a drink together. I'm not a huge drinker, but I'll go and like have a drink.
Yeah. Special
Get
occasion.
out
Yeah.
and meet people. Go bowling. We want to end up doing like some volunteering for some nonprofits around here, but also like just get together and bitch about voiceover. There are so many times that like I've seen one of my commercials in the wild and been by myself, and I'm like, did you see? Nope, there's nobody around. Or I get like that direction where they're like, we want you energetic and upbeat, but slow down and really emote. And I'm like,
Yeah. Laid
like
back.
upbeat and slowed, laid back, upbeat, energetic. Like, I don't know how to do that. Just like these, just things like that where only people in voiceover will get it. Right.
Yes.
And I didn't have a lot of people near me. I went to SOVAS. Everyone I met, we all wanted to hang out. Well, they all lived in LA or in the
Oh,
California area or
shoot.
on the
Yeah.
West Coast. I'm like, well, I'm in Florida. So I started Central Florida VO Hub with not a huge plan, really more like I want this group of people to get together socially to support each other. But then I was like, all right, there are so many clubhouses, there are so many voice over Facebook groups, there are so many other communities. We need to add value to this, right? Because
Mhm.
we're all busy. We've all got kids. If we don't have kids, we have a family, a job, a house. We've all got a
Dogs,
million things to
cats.
do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dogs, yeah, exactly. A parrot, whatever.
Yeah.
You've got all these things, and like social life is fun, but I also we got to
Yeah.
get something out of it. So
Yeah.
I luckily had Asada and Nate who became my planning committee, and they were really helped me dial in on and John Watkins dial in on like our goal. And our goal is to be a community. If we are voiceover professionals, we unfortunately do not allow people who are just starting in voiceover just because of the nature of how we do our education. There's a lot of free education in it. And there's already a space for that for people who
Yes.
are new and need stuff. We really want to support each other through education and social events. We each present, members of the group present, and then we have other people come in. We had Tom come in as a dialect coach, and then we all get together, we have some fun, and then we do an event virtually that's education where we actually learn something. So yeah, I started this group, but to the leaf blower story.
Yeah, so she brings up I love this group, by the way, because like you and I are kind of the same. Like I have all these connections and accountability groups, but they're all spread across the United States and internationally and not here in Florida. So it's nice to be able to connect, even though I'm a little bit south of you. I'm not in Central Florida. But like you brought me on into the group and I'm a working voice actor and and it's been great to I know one of these days I'm gonna drive up there and I'm hanging out in person.
Yes, or I'm going to come to you. We're going to do a beach
Yes.
day because I love
Yes.
beach.
I know. We failed at that like twice, but we're gonna make it happen. But it's just nice to be able to have people in your state, relatively close by that you can meet virtually or in person and connect with. And yeah, it's so important. So I appreciate you adding me into the mix on that. So leaf blower, what the heck happened? Is that
Oh my goodness. So, okay. I had some neighbors. Well, I still have them and we are friends now, but we had neighbors who we were friends with. I'm going to try to go through this really quickly. A tree fell down in this house before I bought it during a hurricane because Florida.
yeah.
And there were two baby squirrels. One died and one lived. So they brought the baby squirrel into their house and they had the squirrel as a pet in their house. I move in, the squirrel's already like a year old when I move into this house next to them. And I was friends with them and we were cool. And one day they decide that, excuse me, they decide that the squirrel, first of all, my friend, the girl had scratches all down her arms from the squirrel. Like the squirrel was really bonded to the husband, but like was really, squirrels are squirrels. They're wild animals. They would get nervous around everyone else.
Yeah.
So they decided maybe it was time for the squirrel. I have an eyelash in my eye. It was time for the squirrel to go live outside. So they put the squirrel, they had like a squirrel thing in their back patio, but the squirrel decided to live in the bushes right next to my house. And long story short, the squirrel was coming out of the bushes, attacked my son one day, was scratching up our boat, which was outside the house. It was like scratching up the boat.
Wow.
And the boat is my ex-husband's father who passed away. It was like the last thing he left him. So it's like a really important thing.
Yeah.
And the squirrel came down and like one day we were out and the squirrel attacked our babysitter. And I told the babysitter, it scratched, she was bleeding. It looked like a bite or scratch. I don't know what it was, but I told her, please don't go to the ER. It doesn't have rabies. Like, it's fine. It scratched my son. He's fine. I'm an ER nurse. Like, you don't need to go to the ER. But she's like, well, I'm going to the ER. So she went. When you go to the ER, they do this pet report form and they do an animal bite form. Yeah. If you ever get bit by an animal and you go to the emergency department, they are required to report. I'm so sorry. I have an eyelash just stabbing my eyeball. So anyway, she goes there. There was this whole misunderstanding between ourselves and our neighbors. The neighbors thought that we called animal control on them because animal control ended up showing up to their house. They thought that we called animal control on them. And they were very, very, very upset with us because this squirrel was like their family and it was like their pet. Yeah. So I'm trying to do voiceover out of my house. And for a good month, there is a leaf blower going off for hours. I mean, 3-4 hours a day. That's right terrible. Outside. Like I can't record. I can't. Yeah. So I would text and be like, hey, I'm so sorry to bother you, but like I have a job that I have to do. And I like, could you please? And they would just ignore me. They were like, we don't owe you anything, whatever. They would just ignore me. And this went on for weeks and weeks and weeks to the point where I was like afraid to take work. I didn't know what to do. I was working starting at 10 p.m., 9 p.m. until like 1 a.m. because, and thankfully at that time, I didn't have a lot of live sessions. At the time I was recording a lot on my own. Yeah. Cause this was in the very beginning. This was, I want to say this was right after I signed on with my agent, early 2021. So I had a lot of stuff I was doing on my own. And that went on for a while and there was nothing I can do. And then eventually then I would look outside and the leaves were, not only were the leaves blowing for hours, but then they were like blowing the leaves into our driveway. It was like a whole thing. Oh my gosh.
God.
And ultimately And anybody who does voiceover understands like the stress of lawnmowers. The other thing about my neighborhood is every person on my street would get their lawn mowed on a different day.
Oh
So
my
Monday,
God.
Oh my
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
God.
Friday. And lawnmower people, like none of them are on time. So sometimes it was 8, sometimes it was 10, so I'd be in my booth like,
Like, that's
to
the
work.
worst.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But I ended up solving the problem. I love the story and the ending of this story because of just the moral of the story is love. The answer for everything in life is love. We can solve everything with love.
Yes.
A year later, this has bubbled up to a point where it was just getting really nasty. And I just wanted peace. And we ended up going over to talk to the neighbors, and I couldn't get through to them. I was like, I don't want to fight with you, but like at the time, my husband got laid off at the time. 2020, the end of 2021 was really like a really scary year. My husband ended up getting laid off. My business didn't make money. We ended up having to be on food stamps and Medicaid for like just my kids for like a few months. It was a really scary time at that time for like 3 months. And then we were good. And then everything was fine because my business just ended up taking off. But during that time, it was scary. And I went and talked to the neighbors, and I couldn't get through to them. They were so mad. We don't owe you anything. We don't. And I was like, you have a business. I have a business. Can we like, what? And I just couldn't, I was racking my brain to think like, what do they need? What do they need? And we just couldn't get through to them. And I just stopped, and they were like, we don't trust you. You may tell us you didn't call the people, but we don't know that. I think you did. And I just stopped, and I don't know where I got this. I just looked at them and I was like, you know what? You're right. You have no reason to trust us. You don't really know us that well.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, because they're like, I know you have kids, so you don't understand what it's like to love an animal. I'm like, I also have dogs that were my dogs before I had kids. My dog's 15 years old.
Right.
But I just looked at them and I just said, you know what? At the end of the day, we didn't lose anything.
Mm-hmm.
You guys had this animal that was like family for you. They don't have children. They were newlyweds. I said, you had this animal that was family for you. You lost a family member.
Right.
And we lost nothing.
Yeah.
So I can absolutely see how this could be so hurtful for you. And I'm really sorry. You don't have to trust us. You don't have to talk to us. You don't even have to be our friends. I just want peace. And that statement, they just both their shoulders were like,
wow.
And they were just like, thank you so much for saying that and for recognizing that. And I was like, we're out nothing. You guys are out a piece of your heart, and I'm so sorry. And since that moment, he texts me now. He's like, hey, I have some work I have to do. Are you doing voiceover? If not, I can do it later. Just let me know. And ever since then, it's been like,
that is amazing.
happy ending.
That's
that
awesome.
amazing.
I love that story.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't tell you how many times, like, we have lawnmower people that come through, and it's every Tuesday. But then if like a hurricane happens or, a holiday happens and it comes on a different day. And then of course, for sure, you book like something big, and you're just like, oh my God. Like, there's been times where I've ran out to my husband and I'm like, just pay him some money to just stop. I can hear them coming. I can hear them coming,
Coming. I had a lawnmower guy who I would specifically tell on Friday, I have a session at 11 o'clock. I need you here by 9:30 so you can be done. Sure enough, this motherfucker would show up at 11 o'clock.
Oh my
I'm like,
God.
what the fuck?
Right? That's so funny.
We ended up firing him, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. It's we're in like a whole neighborhood, so I don't really have control over it. So I'm like, I have no power over it all. But I do have neighbors, have dogs, and they bark. And we've had plenty of times where I'm like texting my neighbor, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to be in a session. Do you mind like bringing the girls in? Because their girls are friends with my girl, my dog. And so like my dog will start barking at me in the house, trying to get outside to go see her friends, even though they're separated by fences. And so I was like, we got to keep the girls separated. Like, I can't have her hearing your dogs. And she's like been super cool about it. But
the anxiety.
I know
Have
the
you ever
anxiety
seen that
goes
video? Have you ever seen that video of the dogs talking? It's like a voiceover of dogs barking at each other, and the dog's barking at one dog, and the guy, it's someone doing their voice, and he's like, hey, what's your name? And he's like, Ezekiel, what's your name? And he's like, fuck you, Ezekiel. Have you ever seen it? They're like making fun of like what dogs are saying to one another.
God,
so now
so
I
funny.
can't see dogs. I have 2 wiener dogs. And the people next to me have
how
three
cute.
wiener dogs now.
Oh my
So
God.
all the wiener dogs. So every time they're barking at each other, I'm always like, they're all like, fuck you. What are you doing? They're all like
That's so
talking all
funny.
kinds of shit to each other.
Totally. The two girls next door, I have two girls too, and it's funny because they like the one girl, but they don't like my other girl, and I'm like, what you got a problem with my other girl? Like, why are you leaving her out?
Don't be
It's so funny.
discriminating.
Yeah, don't be leaving some girls out. Don't be mean girls. Like, that's not cool. So it's really funny. I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm so happy to like be chatting with you. And I know we're going over, but I have one thing. I have a fun question, then Gabby has the final question. This is just fun.
Okay.
Okay. What would you do for $100 that no one else in the room would do for 1,000? That's like, you're like, what the hell? You want me to get another question?
Um,
Oh, wait. Okay. Let's do this. Is way more fun. What ingredients would be in a cocktail named after me? So, like, what would be an ingredient that would
after
be in
me
it?
or
Yeah, after you. Like, what would be one ingredient if someone was going to make a cocktail about you? Like, yeah, named after you. We can all go. I know
okay.
I've left her stumped. Okay. I would
Well, with
say
that first question, you left all of us stumped.
I
I'm
know,
like,
right?
that sounds so like just like a
Provocative.
dirty
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
I'm
I
just
w-
like, I don't,
you don't know. I guess
there aren't many things I would do for $100. So I,
we'll stick with that.
so a drink. So I tend to think of the things that I like to drink. I'm the anti-girly drink girl. I drink really nice tequila. I love añejos, and I'll drink them just a big rock and añejo. No mixer, no sugar, no sweet stuff. That's what I like
Wow.
to drink. Or bourbon. And occasionally today I did do champagne and charcuterie with my friends earlier. So.
Loosen
But
up for the podcast.
yeah, a little bit. So what kind of drink would be me? It's so funny. I always say I feel like I'm like 12 people in one because I don't fit in anywhere. I'm like a
Yeah.
mom sometimes and I'm like super mom and then I'm like party mode. I just want to go party. And then I'm like businesswoman, like a little bit, like just like
Yeah.
this much. And then I like want to play, I learned to play piano and I want to
Right.
learn different languages. I'm like, I'm all over the place. So in that sense, I feel like I want to say something like a Long Island iced tea because there's so many things mixed in, but ew, so no. But
Funny.
I feel like maybe like a really good bourbon because it's like
Yeah.
full
Straight up.
bodied. It's a full bodied, or maybe like an old fashioned because I'm also kind of sweet, I think.
With a little cherry. Throw a cherry in there.
Yes.
But I'm also really shy. It's really weird. I like turn it. I can turn it on like this, like Vio Atlanta when I met you.
Yeah.
I'm like, see everybody, and I'm like, and then I'm like, I have to go back to my room and like,
Yeah.
and I went to my room to like recharge my batteries. Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know if I feel like that's a weird answer, but
No, that's a great
yeah.
answer. I threw it at you. That was a little improv-y. So I mean, Gabby, do you want to give it a stab? Do you want to try?
Well, I mean,
ingredient would be
I
your
don't know.
cocktail?
I don't know. I don't drink. And
That's
the times
true.
that I have drunk, it has to be really fruity. So I think something with my favorite fruit, which is chirimoya, custard apple.
Chirimoya. Ooh,
Ooh,
I don't know what that is.
what is that?
I don't know, but that sounds
it's a
delicious
fruit.
and I want to
It's
try it.
so good. It kind of looks like a dragon's egg. It's really weird.
Oh, is
But
it
it's
kind of like
really good.
pitaya? Like, is it kind of like dragon fruit, like pitaya? No, because you said it's an
No.
apple, something apple.
Yeah, I had to look it up in English because the first time I tried it was here in Mexico, and in Spanish it's called chirimoya. But
Chirimoya.
yeah, apparently in English it's custard apple. I don't know if that's
It
That's
still sounds
correct.
delicious.
Yeah, it does.
But
The way that you said
it's
it,
a
it sounds delicious.
tropical fruit with like a creamy texture.
I like that.
If you guys
Ooh.
can ever like try this fruit, you have to try it. It's my favorite fruit ever.
I'll have to try
Ooh,
it.
I will try it.
Maybe if I can find it at Publix, which I probably wouldn't be able to, but
Probably not.
probably not. Probably not. I'd have to say, like, if somebody was going to make a drink after me, it would have to be, I love Tito's vodka. So it's like, I just absolutely love Tito's. And I haven't been drinking recently. I'm kind of on your boat. Like, I'm like special occasion
Yeah.
drinking right now, but a pineapple. Yeah, like a pineapple, like
Ooh.
pineapple when it's in there because
Nice.
it looks like it's
Yeah.
spiky and edgy on the outside, but like really it's sweet and it's like refreshing and it's healthy for you. So I feel like I want to be like that healthy sweet, but like I might have a little edge to me. So yeah,
Yeah.
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 I
I think
see
that's
that.
perfect for you. I
I hear that
totally
too.
see that.
Your voice says that too.
Well, thank you. And I would do something for $100. I will talk dirty to you all day long for $100. Just joking. Just joking. I'm just joking. Ask the final question.
Oh, yeah. So looking back, at your whole life. Sorry, Joss, I'm going to change it a little.
Yeah, no, you're good.
What would
Okay.
be something that you're most proud of?
Oh, wow.
We put you on the
We're
spot
going,
again.
we're going
Sorry.
deep.
And I have to go
No.
because my
Okay.
husband's like telling me we have to go. I'm sorry, we're flying out tonight. We're going
Oh
back
no.
to Merida and I have to go to the airport. So I
Oh
have
my
to hang up
God,
right now.
go.
But
Okay.
please
So
answer it and I
Okay.
will listen back to the podcast. And it was really great meeting you.
she's
And I
always
have
on
to
the
fly.
go.
Gabriella, please keep in touch, Gabriella. It was
I'm
so
gonna
nice
look
to
you
meet
up
you.
on Instagram. Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
course.
Okay. Okay. And
All right.
yeah, please answer. I'll listen back.
I will
And
answer the question.
okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
She's so funny. She's like everywhere. Like you can, I'm like, where in the world are you? And she's like, I'm in Spain. I'm like, oh my God, girl. Okay. Okay. So what would be
I'm
one?
going
I
to
feel
take a
like,
picture really quick too.
where do I
Okay.
look? I'm like,
So, okay, looking back on my whole life, what am I most proud of?
yeah.
Um,
Really long pause.
I,
I
well,
love it.
because I'm just on this self-actualization journey right now, and it's just like I'm like really deep in it right now. Honestly, the thing I am most proud of, it's a combination of things. I think I've always had this beautiful self-awareness, which was kind of painful for me for a long time in my life. I think my self-awareness and my commitment to always wanting to be my best self and
Yeah.
always wanting to grow,
Yeah.
hold myself accountable. Um, I have that awareness where when I do things, before I used to do things that didn't feel good, and then I would have to like look back and feel bad and feel remorseful. Now I really am so tapped into like my self-awareness and my intuition that I'm
Yeah.
like, that doesn't align with who I am.
Right.
Um, so I'm very proud of the growth that I have, that I've gone through, the work that I've done to
Yeah.
become who I am now, and the
Yeah.
work that I'm continuing to do because I am
Yeah.
absolutely a work in progress. And it doesn't ever end, right? You
Yeah.
don't ever hit the finish line when it comes to
Mm-mm.
growth and healing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. I feel like you gave us a lot of like proud moments, already. So that was like really deep. I like that a lot. If anybody wants to find you and connect with you, like Gabby wants to connect with you on Instagram, how can they find
Yeah.
you? Or, do you have a website? Yeah. Or if they're
Yeah,
in
sure. So
Florida,
my
in Central Florida.
Instagram,
Yeah.
yeah, if you are anywhere near the Orlando area on Facebook, you can look up Central FLVO Hub,
Okay.
Central Florida VO Hub, and come find us if you are a working voice actor. If you're just getting started in voiceover, we don't have people come into the group just because of the nature of how it is. It's not because we don't love you. It's not because we don't want to support you.
Right.
But still feel free to still connect with me. On Instagram, I am Milena Voiceover, Milena
Okay.
Voiceover.
Yep.
My website is milenavoiceover.com.
I love it.
And I believe LinkedIn and Facebook is like facebook.com/Milena Voiceover.
Yeah.
I'm just Milena Voiceover on everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, connect with me. And I'm so grateful
Thank you.
that you asked me to be on with you guys.
I know. I know. I was so happy that you accepted our invitation and like, oh my gosh, thank you for sharing your whole story with us because that was like really cool. And I think that for
I
me,
feel like I talked so much.
no. I think like it's good to share because it's validating, it's also cathartic, and it's also gives other people an opportunity to like see where they're at in life, and where they're on their journey. And then like also like just knowing like maybe they're not alone. You know what I'm saying? So sharing all these ups and downs and sharing how you got started, I think it's fantastic because I now know a little bit more about who you are and where you came from and can appreciate you and your friendship and obviously accountability even